Hello and welcome everyone to Online Compliance Panel. We are happy to have you all. Join us as we present today's webinar on Creating a High-Performance Team, Overcoming the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. My name is Amar and I will be your host for this webinar. At this time, I would like to introduce today's presenter, Claudette Rowley. Claudette Rowley is a cultural integration consultant with 25 years of experience in organizational design. With her 5-step cultural integration design methodology, she helps executive leaders retain and increases the value of their business during an acquisition, sales, or other significant organizational change. She is an excellent strategical planner with a knack of building collaborative executive leadership teams to boost business performance and increases employee engagement. For the last 15 years, Claudette has consulted, trained, coached executive leaders and management teams at Fortune 1000 companies, small business and startup around how to create workplace culture that delivers effective business results. Claudette holds a Master of Social Work degree from the University of Michigan, a certification from the Coaches Training Institute, and the Professional Certified Coach credential through the International Coach Federation. She has completed additional training in organization development, the predictable success business life cycle model, conflict resolution, mediation, and relationship system coaching. Before we start, we need to let you know that we are going to hold off answer and questions until the presentation is complete. 10 minutes will be allotted for the Q&A window towards the end of the webinar. All the participants will be placed on mute during the training session. However, if you want to submit a question, you may do so at any time by clicking and typing the Q&A text field. Type your question and then click the send button. At the end of the presentation, we will review the question in the order which they have received, and Claudette will answer the received questions accordingly. If for any reason you get logged out from the training session or teleconference, please follow the same procedure to join it again or contact our customer support. Once again, thank you for joining the webinar. Let's get started with the presentation. I request Claudette to take over from here. Claudette.
Oh, thanks so much. Welcome, everybody, to Creating a High-Performance Team and how to overcome the 5 dysfunctions of a team. We're going to talk about 4 different things today, and here's the overview. We're going to review the 5 dysfunctions of a 5 team dysfunctions and functions, and these are based on Patrick Lencioni's work on the 5 dysfunctions of a team, for those of you who are familiar with Patrick Lencioni. We're going to talk about some strategies to build a more functional team, and then focus in specifically on how resolving team conflict can increase your productivity, and then talk about team mindset and how it's really driving a lot of the performance we see on teams and decisions teams are making. So we're going to focus in more specifically on the team conflict and mindset pieces after we more broadly look at how we can build a more functional team. I'd like to invite you to look through 2 lenses today as you're listening to the webinar. One thing I'd like to invite you to do is assess your team as you're listening, and maybe take notes of what's working well and what you'd like to change. The other lens I'd like to invite you to look through is thinking about and defining what a high-performance team looks like for your company. Because although we're going to talk about a lot of things that would apply to almost any company, I also know that every company has its own definition of what high performance would look like, just like you'd have your own definition of what a high-performance culture would look like for your organization. It's the same with high-performance teams. So start thinking about what a high-performance team looks like for your company, and then if your team matches that definition, and it may well, and then if it doesn't, what might need to change or improve on your team. So 2 things to be thinking about today, if you'd like to. So if you decide to assess your team during the webinar, you might want to simply be thinking about what are some of your team's strengths as I present information. You might realize there are more strengths than you had thought. You might notice some areas of improvement that maybe you already know about or might occur to you during the webinar. And then based on that, what might be some next steps, 2, 3, 4 next steps you might want to take with your team. And if you decide to look through that lens of defining high performance, a couple of questions: what's a high performance team in your company? And then again, how does high performance link to organizational goals? Because anytime we're looking at performance, we need to make sure it links back to the organizational goals. What are the business strategies and objectives? What is your company trying to accomplish? what are its strategic objectives, and then making sure based on that you understand what high performance looks like. So we're moving on to the 5 dysfunctions of a team. So these are Patrick Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions and functions of a team. Absence of trust, and then, so what we see on teams sometimes is an absence of trust, and what we want to move toward is building trust. And what Patrick Lencioni talks about is without building trust in a team, there's no way a team can master conflict. So you need to, in order to master conflict, you need to build trust. In order to achieve commitment, you need to have mastered conflict. In order to embrace accountability, you need to achieve commitment. And then finally, in order to be able to focus on results, teams need to be able to hold themselves and others accountable. So we're going to go into detail on each one of these 5 dysfunctions and corresponding functions. The first function is building trust. So what is trust? What is vulnerability-based trust? And no one says it better than Lencioni here on the slide. It's a simple and practical idea that people who aren't afraid to admit the truth about themselves are not going to engage in the kind of political behavior that wastes everyone's time and energy. And so by political behavior, we certainly mean organizational politics, we mean gossiping, we mean backstabbing, unresolved conflict, people holding grudges. I could go on, and I'm sure you have your own version of it in your organization at times at least. So vulnerability-based trust means we can be comfortable and open with each other so that we can have real conversations about important things and not engage in political machinations. So just to give you bring this to life a little bit, when teams have an absence of trust, you see that, there's a big list here on your screen. Well, these are a lot of the things that happen where team members aren't going to ask each other for help or offer constructive feedback to each other. They might make assumptions about other people, their intentions, or their aptitudes, and without even clarifying them. They may really waste time and energy trying to manage their own behavior. So I'm on a team and I'm really concerned about other people are going to perceive me and how they perceive my power and what I can do. So I'm going to really manage my behavior so that you think really highly of me and think that I'm powerful. And even as I'm saying that, we can begin to imagine how much energy and time it would take if I was on a team trying to do that. And yet we see team members doing that all the time, not because they're bad people, but because they don't know that there's something better and different they could be doing. And that final bullet point there on the slide, dread meetings and find reasons to avoid spending time together. When team members don't trust each other, they really don't want to be together, which doesn't really make sense when we know that the function of a team is to get together and solve problems and make things happen in organizations.